If you're self-employed, there's a good chance the income you think you make and the income a lender can actually use are two very different numbers. And that gap surprises a lot of business owners. You can be running a healthy, profitable business and still hear that you don't show enough income to qualify. So let me break down how this really works, because once you understand it, you can plan around it. First, a quick definition. For most lenders, you're considered self-employed if you own 25% or more of a business. That could be a sole proprietorship, a partnership, an S corp, or an LLC. Now here's the part that catches people off guard. When a lender looks at a W-2 employee, they usually use gross income, the income before taxes. But for a self-employed borrower, it works differently. Lenders generally use your net income, what's left after your business expenses and write-offs. And here's what a lot of owners don't connect. At tax time, writing off as much as possible makes sense. It lowers what you owe. But those same write-offs also lower the income a lender can count. So a return that's built to save on taxes can end up showing less income than your business actually supports. The next thing to know is that lenders look at history, not just a snapshot. In most cases, they want to see 2 years of tax returns, and they'll often average your income across them. The trend matters too. Income that's steady or growing tends to tell a stronger story than income that's declining year over year. Another big piece is how your business is structured, because the same earnings can look completely different on paper depending on how the business is set up. A sole proprietor reports income one way, a partnership reports it another, and an S corp owner might pay themselves part as salary and part as profit. So a lender has to look at all of the pieces to see the full picture. This is where a lot of self-employed income gets calculated incorrectly, when someone only looks at one part of the return and misses the rest. Reading all of it correctly is how we build an income picture that actually reflects what you earn. And there's one more thing most business owners never hear about. If your tax returns don't tell the full story, that's not always the end of the road. There are loan options designed specifically for self-employed borrowers, ones that can look at your income differently than the standard tax return approach. They're not the right fit for everyone, but for the right borrower, they can open a door that looked closed. The key is knowing those options exist before you assume you don't qualify. So here's the bottom line. Don't look at your top line revenue and assume that's your qualifying income. And don't look at your taxable income and assume that's the whole story either. The real number is a calculation. And the earlier we look at it together, the more options you'll have. If you're self-employed and you're starting to think about buying, reach out early and let's look at your numbers. I'll show you how your income actually pencils out. And if the standard approach doesn't get you there, we'll talk through the other paths that might.